Welcome to Hamburgers and Horror, the home of meat, monsters, and mutant killer snowmen. I'm Noah Hook, and today we're looking at Jack Frost 2, The Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman. 1 year after the events of the original, Jack Frost manages to escape his antifreeze confinement and plans to seek vengeance on Sam Tyler, who just happens to be on vacation in the Bahamas. Jack follows him to the island resort and starts killing tourists left and right, and it's up to Sam and a returning Agent Manners to put the snowman down for good. Jack Frost 2 is once again written and directed by Michael Cooney in his second and currently final directing credit. He was rejoined by a lot of the original cast, including Christopher Allport as Sam Tyler, Eileen Seeley as Ann Tyler, Marcia Clark as Marla, and of course Scott McDonald as Jack Frost. Agent Manners is now played by David Allen Brooks from The Kindred and Scream for Help. Dean Lent from Class of 1999 2 returned as cinematographer, and special effects artist John Hardigan from Kill Bill took on the special effects. The film was released straight to video and obviously wasn't loved by the few critics who decided to watch it. It only has a 29% on Rotten Tomatoes, so not many people are going to argue it's a great movie. But I'm not reviewing it because I want a good movie, I'm just hoping to have some fun here. I hope y'all aren't allergic to bananas because we're watching Jack Frost 2. The movie opens with a traumatized Sam in therapy as he recounts the nursery rhyme from the original. His therapist doesn't take him seriously based on him allowing his secretary and her occupationally diverse friends to listen and mock Sam. He recounts the events of the original, reminding everyone of Jack's unmarked antifreeze grave. Now we jump to Snowman, where some kind of agent is having a stupid-sounding local dig up the antifreeze, before promptly killing the man. The antifreeze is brought to a very official lab and dumped inside a fish tank, where various experiments keep on failing. Catastrophe strikes when this Herbert West-looking dude leaves his coffee on the edge of the tank, and this janitor, who played a funny background character in the first movie, knocks the mug into the antifreeze. This is enough to reanimate Jack, who blows up the tank and melts himself down into the drain. Paranoid Sam tries to talk his wife Ann out of going on vacation in the Bahamas, as their weird son Ryan will miss them, but he promised his deputy Joe he'd be the best man at his wedding. I can't decide if I'm happy or sad that weird little Ryan is not in this one. Ann also wants to spend Christmas away from where all the violence took place last year, and Marla and Joe arrive just in time to catch their flight. We jump to the resort they'll be staying at, where the delightful owner, Colonel Hickering, and his assistant Bobby meet the new arrivals. We've got a group of college girls looking for adventure, a photographer and some models here for a calendar shoot, a random couple, and of course our favorite small-town snowman fighters. Hickering greets them with some tally-ho enthusiasm, and Ann is delighted that Sam secretly secured them the other honeymoon suite. Somewhere in the middle of the fucking ocean, a couple of castaways bicker about how they got into this situation. All that's left to eat is a carrot, which the men start to fight over, leading to one of them going overboard. Jack, who is damn near omnipresent at times in this movie, drowns the guy, and he stabs the other with an icicle through the raft. With his new nose, Jack is ready to hit up the island and washes ashore. While the college girls order some ice-cold Asahis, which is either a running gag or really persistent product placement, Sad Sam is harassed by an obnoxious employee. Captain Fun! Captain Fun makes Sam join the others in karaoke, and later that night he and Joe decide to leave Jack Frost in the past. Jack, who is still a disembodied carrot, watches the college girls as they wait for some boys they're seeing to return. Ashley goes to get more charcoal, which will help complete Jack's outfit. Now he is somehow in a tree, and Ashley unknowingly dodges all of Jack's icicles. Fed up, he drops an anvil on her, and her friend Paisley finds her very crushed. As she backs up, Jack sticks an icicle out of the ground for her to step on, and more for her to be impaled by. Not so final girl Rose grabs some tongs to defend herself from the voice of Invisible Jack, who finally takes full form and stabs her in the eyes. Colonel Hickering and Bobby are preparing breakfast when they hear a scream as the random couple found what's left of Ashley. Hickering buys their silence with free room service and tells Bobby to call Manners, the head of security.
Oh no, not the scary dude.
Yes, the scary dude.
Scary dude's already here.
Manners says they've got a killer on the island, and when nosy-ass Sam comes to investigate, the sheriff recognizes Manners despite his new appearance. Manners shares that he needed 15 reconstructive surgeries after Jack attacked him, and they tell Sam this was simply a shark attack. Hickering wants to downplay the deaths so as not to risk profits, but Bobby tells him the phone lines are out. They go to check out the satellite, which has obviously been trashed by Jack, and Bobby plans to leave tomorrow to get parts to fix it. The staff has a meeting where Manners explains a murderer is afoot, but Hickering and Captain Fun refuse to turn down the festivities. Jack watches as Greg shoots some sexy photos of model Sarah, and when he requests that her nipples be harder, Jack teleports inside the cooler and becomes an ice cube. One lucky cube goes to Areola City, and another enjoys some sucking action before Sarah chomps down on him. Greg pulls out a scarf because of course, and he somehow makes Sarah's head explode? Jack is literally a god. He swipes Greg's camera and documents as he kills the photographer off-screen. Sam can't help feeling like something is wrong, and while Anne and the others try to comfort him, Manners tells Sam to meet him in 10 minutes. Manners explains that he was fired from the FBI for all of his Snowman nonsense and that there is a killer on the loose. It also turns out that Captain Fun is actually on the same page as Manners, and they want his help in luring the killer out of hiding. Turns out Captain Fun's plan is to throw a costume party, but I guess it works as he spots Jack Frost in the crowd and starts pursuing him, with Manners and Captain Fun not far behind. Sam finds a carrot on the ground, and when a snowman sneaks up on him, he socks him with an oar. Turns out this was just Colonel Hickering in his costume though, and he gives the three morons a good scolding. Sam is still alarmed when he realizes the carrot on the beach wasn't a part of his costume, but Anne shuts that shit down and tells him his obsession is tearing them apart. Later that night when everyone is asleep, the other model named Cindy decides to go skinny dipping by herself, I guess. Jack of course shows up with a joke, and he proceeds to freeze the top of the pool, trapping Cindy below. The poor woman slowly drowns to death while Jack stares at her through the ice. Jack grabs himself a truly ice-cold Asahi and freezes over the entire resort, including the sleepy woman. He also tucks in Sam, who shortly wakes up with a chill, and the sheriff is shocked to see it is snowing. Everyone else is really excited about this extremely unusual weather, but Sam is certain this is Jack's doing. These two stereotypical stoner dudes decide to test out the frozen pole myth, and once this one is good and stuck, the other heads out to flirt with chicks. This makes it too easy for Jack, who rips the dude from his tongue. Sam can feel Jack's presence, and the killer launches a snowball that knocks a guy's arm off. A panic ensues, and Jack starts killing people with barrages of snowballs and icicles. Sam and the others can't quite see what's happening, but Sam spots a snowman and whips out his secret bottle of antifreeze. This snowman is not alive, so it has no effect, but the real deal pops up behind Sam. Manners rolls up with his gun and Jack melts away, and the others are very surprised to see Agent Manners. They head inside and Sam shares that he feels some sort of connection with Jack, and he whips out a bunch of caulk and spackle to seal themselves inside their room, and says they have to help the others on the island, which of course means Sam and Manners have to do it. The two discuss Jack's new abilities, and Joe hypothesizes that since Sam was wounded during his fight with Jack, maybe some of Jack and Sam's DNA got mixed up in their antifreeze wrestling match, causing the link between them. Sam and Manners find Hickering, Bobby, and Captain Fun, and he gives them the lowdown about Jack's abilities and antifreeze weakness. They don't have traditional antifreeze, but they have loads of air conditioner coolant. While Jack is somewhere else, I guess, they dig up a big hole and fill it with coolant and disguise it with potato flakes. Sam volunteers to use himself as bait, so while the employees hide behind their Asahi fort and Snowman folks hide inside their room, Jack emerges to face his mortal enemy. Sam pretends his water gun is clogged, tricking Jack right into the coolant pit. Jack screams as he melts down into suds, and everyone comes out of hiding to congratulate Sam. Turns out Jackie Boy ain't dead yet though, as he is new and improved, so while the antifreeze hurts, it can no longer kill him. Then Jack gets gassy and vomits up a snowball, and he's so bewildered by this he just fucking leaves. Joe and Marla grab the snowball, and Manners heads out on his own to hunt Jack. Sam is delirious since the antifreeze didn't work, and the snowball hasn't melted in 15 minutes of heat. The snowball starts wriggling around, and Captain Fun realizes it's hatching into a little snow baby. The snowball stabs Captain Fun in the eye with an icicle, and after surviving a couple of pan smacks, it chases them around the kitchen before Anne traps it in a blender. Even that doesn't kill the little monster though, and the group debates how to torture it next. Manners hears a bunch of chatter in a shed and heads inside, where he finds a fucking bunch of the little Jack babies. Anne radios into him that he needs to avoid the snowballs as they are vicious, and as Manners tries to slowly exit, a snowball bites a couple of his fingers off. The little bastards swarm Manners and finish him off screen with one more of his music cues. More experiments fail to kill the snowball, so Anne's only strategy is to trap them all in various containers. Dressed in their best kitchenware and big game hunting attire, Anne, Joe, and Hickering split up to hunt the snowballs. The little dudes are just living it up at this resort, but here come these ridiculous humans to break up the party. Joe heads inside a suite and finds a snowball hiding in a Christmas tree, and he manages to vacuum it up into a jar. Hickering is searching a bamboo forest when he finds a sleeping snowball, but turns out it was actually an ambush and the colonel makes a run for it. Anne finds this terrified woman named Amanda, but a bunch of snowballs come out of nowhere and pummel her, revealing more people behind the bar. They run away to die, I guess, and Anne throws anything she can at the snowball, but a particular mixed drink causes the creature to suddenly explode. Bobby explains that it's his special island daiquiri, and he explains the ingredients that go into it. They assume the alcohol killed it until the still delirious Sam mentions that he is allergic to bananas, which was brought up in an earlier scene. Anne comes to the conclusion that when their DNA mixed in the antifreeze, Jack must have picked up Sam's allergy. The theory proves successful on the captured snowball, who is dead for good this time. They mash up a bunch of bananas into a liquid ooze and load up their squirt guns, which leads to an absurd montage of these little snowball plushies being blown up. I hope there are Asahis waiting for them in hell. Only one snowball escapes the massacre, and Jack, who has been gone for 20 whole minutes in this movie, comforts his dying child before vowing to take vengeance. The groups are cleaning up the mess when Hickering suddenly takes an icicle to the back of the head and Bobby has his throat slit. The clock strikes midnight, meaning that it's Joe and Marla's wedding day, but their romance is interrupted by Jack, and they lock themselves inside a freezer for the rest of the movie. Jack turns into a bunch of walls to trap Anne inside, and a bunch of icicles start piercing through to stab her. The walls close in on Anne as she talks shit to him, and Jack absorbs her, I guess. Sam is suddenly a competent character again, and he shoots Jack with a banana-laced arrow, causing the snowman to explode. He searches the ooey gooey pile for Anne, who is somehow still alive, I guess. What a happy ending. Hold on, you fucks, we're still not done yet. Watch in amazement as some purposefully poorly dubbed Japanese sailors see the island is engulfed in snow. They scream Jackzilla as a giant carrot destroys their ship, hinting at the sequel that will probably never happen. Oh yeah, and there is a post-credits scene sharing that Joe and Marla probably froze to death in that freezer. And that's Jack Frost 2. As I said with the original, what a special movie. I think I actually like part 2 more than the original, just because it takes itself a little less seriously. The humor is way more frequent this time around, and while a lot of jokes do not land, I still find myself laughing more than in the original. Jack also just looks a lot better this time around. Sure, his costume is clunky as hell, but at least we get full body shots of him. I also enjoy all of his absurd powers and his terrible little offspring. Having a lot of the original cast return helps it feel like the same world while having a drastically different tone, and David Allen Brooks is really fun as Manners. I generally like the resort employees as well, even though they really just exist for comedic purposes. The other resort guests are fine. I think they were generally the worst actors of the bunch. While I can't say the writing is necessarily good, it mostly didn't have all of the strange character choices and really weird plot holes that the first one did, so points for improvement. I sound pretty positive, but let me be clear that this is not a technically good film. It drags on a lot, there's a lot of weird camera issues, and it's a movie about a one-liner spitting killer snowman, so it's obviously not for everyone. But if you like low-budget horror movies where everyone is clearly trying their very best, then you'll probably find something to like in Jack Frost 2. I actually hope Michael Cooney makes a third installment, or at least branches out into some other horror movie, but we'll see. Well, that's about it. Next week I'll be looking at a patron request that I've been hearing good things about. I know very little about the movie, so I'm excited to see what Triangle is all about. Thank you all for joining me, and an extra thank you to my patrons. As always, I'm Noah Hook, and thanks for watching Hamburgers and Horror. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching my review of Jack Frost 2. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up with all of my horror videos. And if you want to help support the channel further, be sure to check out my Patreon account. You'll be able to vote for future movies and franchises I cover on the channel. Thanks y'all.